Hey guys, I just wanted to speak some hard truths again in this video. I was away because sometimes I can lose myself and I can get lost in out of my routine, and sometimes I'm just constantly picking myself back up, and I'm doing this again. And when I do, I want to return to sharing what's been on my mind, because I want us to continue doing that for ourselves, picking ourselves back up and believing that we'll get to that goal, we'll see the imagination come to life of what we want out of life, of what we want out of ourselves. It's not the end, is what I'm trying to say. It's not the end of our desires, it's not the end of hope. It's the joy, the ecstasy, the content, like all of these elated emotions, they can still be present, they can still be felt. Maybe some days not as present, but we are still, all these elevated emotions are still accessible to us. We can do it. We can do hard things. We can feel the hard emotions. We can have difficult conversations. We can, even to ourselves, we're capable of it. And sometimes we don't feel capable. And so this video is more just a mode of support that I can offer other people, because sometimes we fall short of ourselves, and we ask ourselves, maybe, like, come on, like, we can be strong enough to overcome some challenges. I felt that for the last few months. It's like a heavy backpack on my shoulders sometimes. And sometimes it's like I'm not even at the top of the mountain and I'm already getting so out of breath from the hill already, from the hilltop, from the trail. It's like, when you're hiking, you're like, oh, can I even get myself up there? If I'm already so exhausted right now, can I get myself actually up there? And life is just like, sometimes, those challenges you experience, it's like, well, it's just hard at the moment, and you wonder, like, if it's hard now, like, imagine, like, can I actually do all these other hard things that that's not existent to me yet, but I know that they're there. If I find it hard now, like, how am I gonna go through life later if I find it hard now, if I find these challenges hard now? And having trust is hard in yourself sometimes, and it's hard to feel like, okay, I can get through this. It's just hard when to know that you're gonna have challenges later on in life too. There are always gonna be a challenge, but to build that resilience to go through challenges is hard. Sometimes I think maybe it's a muscle to practice, but sometimes I think also, like, you get so tired of the challenges, of moving through them, that I start to ask myself, like, how can I move through this? How can I move through future challenges if this challenge is hard right now? It's hard. I think that's why I want to talk about, like, maybe ways we can move through challenges, but really this video is maybe about rebuilding yourself back up. I guess in a way, the resilience, the putting the pieces back together for yourself, reshaping, reevaluating your life, your behaviors, your patterns, your habits, just, building a better structure, better foundation to ground yourself in. I think constantly we find ourselves like, oh, fall short. Like, how can I curate my life so that I can have some steady grounding to move forward, to move through my challenges? How can I build a steady ground for myself? And this is about building a sense of stability within yourself, a sense of grounding within you. It's just a solid ground, but in your inner world. Because it's like whether you feel you have the same thoughts or you have the same behaviors, it's like constant picking yourself back up in life. And sometimes you're just tired, but I think if we can experiment with different ways of curating our life, we can keep going back to the drawing board and like, okay, maybe this habit didn't work or this system didn't work. Let me create a new system so I can have better habits. Not really about changing habits, but about creating a new system. So maybe it's more of an inner system, rewiring your inner system. Because I need that myself right now. I'm in the season of life where I'm shown the same lessons over and over again, and I'm shown that maybe I did get it right a little bit last year, but I'm shown to keep restructuring my life. I am being told that I need to go back to the drawing board and restructure my life, and I'll share a little bit of this process, I guess, because I'm in it right now. And it's not necessarily like, sometimes we make certain decisions and choices, and I don't think it's always useful to point the finger on the external world of our outcome. Sometimes it's important to question, okay, how can I tweak my daily habits, tweak my daily routine to prevent this outcome, if that is comprehensible in any way. Sometimes it's important to just ask yourself, how can I do something differently? And it's not always preferred to look on the inside, because sometimes it's easier just to do the same thing every day. It really is. Like, it's so much easier sometimes to operate the same way, but then you get kind of tired of just seeing the same results, and I'm just so tired. You just get really tired mentally, and you just feel like, it's like, I can't. And so I'm being asked to really like narrow down and restructure my life, because I have a tendency to not put so much planning in my day and not put too much structure, but it leads me to have my reality feel like it's floating, and it doesn't have a sense of grounding to my day and to my weeks. And now I just want to tap into more structure, more restrictions, limitations, all this Saturn energy into my life. And it feels just so different, the way I'm contemplating how to move through my days. It just doesn't feel like, it's not something I'm familiar with, like, it almost freaks me out, because I'm afraid of how that will make me feel. I'm really scared of like just doing something different, but then I'm scared also to operate the same way because it doesn't make me feel fulfilled. I used to think the restriction, limitations, and boundaries would strip away from my freedom, but without any of that, I don't feel a sense of freedom. I actually feel maybe more numb, less really present in my reality, more floating. And I just don't like that feeling anymore. I want to have some sort of plan to execute my day and my week. To stick to it. I feel like I was been trying to avoid limitations and restrictions for a long time. And this is what I wanted, is to spark this conversation of picking yourself back up. Because I think when you pick yourself back up, it requires some grounding in order to do so. I think when we fall short and we fall down, we got lost along the way, and it's important to just sit back and just, okay, sometimes you can't pick like, oh, this is this exact day where things went haywire, or I lost and became confused again on my path, on myself. And I don't think it's a matter of finding the exact day of when you fell short, when you fell down, but I don't think it's about like finding the exact date. I think the reason could be helpful, but sometimes there's no reason or the exact reason. Right now, I'm just reevaluating my own life and seeing how the confusion, in order to dissipate the confusion a little bit and to make your path become clear again, restriction and limitation can help. Because with limitations and restrictions, you have a narrow focus and intention on where you're going. I think of like, if we don't put a restriction on, like, let's say food, and we eat whatever we want, our bodies will perish. We'll just accept anything that comes, anything that's on our plate. And in order to move through our purpose and to do our to really implement our dharma, I believe that we have to operate to what's aligned to us. Because if we don't, I feel like we're not really living our true selves, and we can get lost along the way when we don't honor what our heart is telling us to do and doing what really matters to us. I find that I spend a lot of time doing frivolous things and maybe more passive. I feel like I'm kind of spending my time, or lately, acting passively, and it just leaves more confusion because there's no clear intention. And the more limitations and restrictions you place, you make more room for what matters to you most. And when you have a narrow focus on what matters to you most, then you can operate more in alignment to your path without getting so distracted on these passive, frivolous things that the world can throw at us. If we can clear it out and just make space for what matters to us by placing boundaries on what doesn't matter to us and what doesn't feel aligned, what doesn't feel like truly like a yes, 100% body yes, then that's when we can move with more. When we can move through the heart, with the heart, rather, and just do what's actually what is right. And sometimes it's okay to wait on certain things. Like, I was gonna do something today, but then I was like, you know what? Well, I know that's kind of vague. I was gonna do something today. Um, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to go cafe, but then because of the timing, I couldn't make it out. And it's just something that I could just wait on another day to do. Like, I found that I wasn't so focused on my priorities, which is what I'm gonna be segueing segueing a little bit. But yeah, I just find that, like, wait a minute, because of the timing, let's not do the cafe anymore. We can do another day. And sometimes it's just about knowing your priorities. Is what it's to rebuild your sense of self again, to rebuild and pick things back up. So I would say the first maybe is, or maybe not in order, but what I had previously stated, which was placing limitations, restrictions on things that maybe aren't in alignment. Because I think with the confusion that can come with falling back down, getting lost again, getting this sort of haze, this fog, is because maybe we did things that weren't in alignment. And then in order to do things in alignment, let's maybe start putting boundaries and saying no to things that don't feel truly right for us. Because I think when we fall back down, we're kind of doing things that are not truly a yes to us, not truly what we want, not truly what's good for us. And so keep following your heart, keep following what feels like you're looking out for yourself. Do what feels like you're truly looking out for yourself. You're truly like doing things that are both logical, but from your heart. Say no to things that maybe will sabotage your future. Because I think the whole getting lost again and falling back down comes from maybe along the way we didn't do things that are right. So we need to put restrictions and limitations on what those things are. Identify what those limitations that you need to place, or identify what things you need to place limitations on and restrictions on. Maybe the time you go to bed, like maybe, observe what you're doing at night. That's what I'm working on too. It's like observing what I'm doing at night and maybe placing restrictions on what I'm doing at night so that I can make sure I sleep earlier and wake up earlier. Somewhere along the way, we just lost our intention. Maybe we did things that stayed out a little later, or, got distracted on the internet, things like that. Like, let's place limitations on that so we can stay on our course, on the course of our path. The more I wrote this a few weeks ago, the more limitations, restrictions, and boundaries I place on myself, the clearer my path becomes, and the more I can manifest from the space of reality. When I can implement truth to my actions, I am working with the universe. I am working with oneness. Limitations are not a burden to life, but a guide to freedom. If we don't place limits to what we consume in our bodies, then our bodies will perish, like I said. So, yeah, I think sometimes, I think all of us come into this life with some lessons that are repeatedly learned over and over again. It's like, oh, some things scare us, things that scare me may not scare some other people. Like restrictions, limitations, and boundaries scare the heck out of me. I feel like I'm falling asleep. but it scared the heck out of me. And I learning again and again and again how beneficial they can be to help clear our path. So, and I think I'll touch base on this more throughout my videos and throughout what I share. And another thing, besides limitations and putting restrictions on like what we do in our day, because that's kind of plays a part in restructuring our life. So another thing is knowing your priorities, so which kind of plays a part in the limitations, in placing limitations. Because then when you place limitations on what's secondary, everything that's primary, put that first. For me, communicating with God, opening the channel to communicate with the divine, with spirit. In order to do so, I like to wake up early. But I want to wake up earlier, and so that I can make room for that priority, which is communicating with God. Seeing like, okay, what's really, really important? Like, what is truly, truly important? Not the cafe. I can go on any other day. That'll be there. And I have learned over time, and I think I know I've gotten better with my priorities over time. A few years ago, when I was 21, my priorities was so much of what's frivolous. My life has been a lot of not seeing my priorities clearly. And now I think, you get older and or rather you becoming younger, hopefully, over time, and your time is limited. I think no matter what you do, time itself is limited. So how can we observe and reflect on what is most important to me? Is it spending time with my family? Is it connecting to God, creating art in any form, any medium that speaks to you? For me, it's been creating, it's been relationship building, it's been community with God, staying in contact with family is something I want to do again. So yeah, it's it's that, and I think your priorities can shift, 1 month and the other. Like 1 month, I may have a priority to take a trip, but it's not going to be this month's priority. And so I think weekly check-ins is really helpful that I myself want to be consistent with. So the creating limitations, and then on top of that, having your own priorities, reminding yourself, what are my priorities? What's really, really important? And then what's everything secondary that I can just kind of turn away from? I don't really need to look at it. What are the things I want to look at and stay looking at? I feel like successful people in their field and people who have achieved goals, they were able to not take their eye off the prize, off of what they thought was really, really important for them. Do not take your eye off. And I want to say checking in, because sometimes you get lost along the way if you're not constantly okay, what's working for me? Are these restrictions and limitations I've placed on my life working for me? Do I need to reevaluate my priorities again? Do I because all of this is like kind of building structure in your life. And I'm still learning how to implement more structure in my life. But I know that these are the ways that can help. And I want to do more, learn more, or rather gain more insights as to more ways that can add structure, more ways that can, it can be easier to ease into, easier to, because it's very, like I said, I have a lot of fear around restrictions and boundaries. And so for me, I'm learning how I can ease into all of this without, ease into it, because it's a lot of overwhelming emotions for me. But knowing my priorities, what's very important to me, and then as well as placing limitations on what's not important to me, restrictions on what's really not important to me. And then checking in will allow us to just repeat that and look over it and see where we can tweak it a little bit, how we can tweak our day to day or week, going back to that drawing board. Another way we can pick it ourselves back up again to rebuild in our sense of identity, our sense of self again, is operating on your own timing. I didn't know I was someone. I didn't know I was someone that can be lost in someone else. Because I love my independence. I love my alone time. That I thought I was like, okay, I'm good. Like no one's gonna ever take that away from me. No one ever did, but I lost a sense of grounding within myself because I didn't know that was possible for me. Sometimes, we get lost along the way because maybe we get lost in our relationships. It could be it can even look like trying to help somebody. If you're like constantly lending a hand or constantly feeling like you need to give someone everything, you can get lost in that way as well. So operating on your own timing can look like, start just doing things on your own. Like you want to wake up at a certain time, do it. You want to, like, just act selfishly, or not really acting selfishly. It's just like operating on your own timing, like just spending your time and your day the way you need to, the way it's important to you. I think we can get lost in like how other people behave. We can get lost into what they decide to do with their time, especially if they're a friend of ours. We can sometimes lose a piece of ourselves because, like, let's say we're hanging out with someone and they may have a certain habit we may not want to implement ourselves, but by spending time with them, it's easier to succumb to that habit. And so that's another way we lose ourselves. It's like, and it maybe goes back to the boundaries and restrictions. It's like, okay, placing boundaries on maybe how you approach this relationship so that way you don't succumb to this habit. Like always having a separation. I think operating on your own timing looks like having a separation to be with yourself again, to listen to what feels right again. But okay, so to remind ourselves that it's an individual journey as well. It's not me and this person. Sometimes it is, and sometimes our relationships, really, I think our relationships are a mode of support that's given to us in this life. But a lot of times, it's an individual path, journey. So having a separation from you and another person or relationships, just from other people, is very helpful in that you can return back to yourself, listen to what feels right. I was sitting in stillness, and I felt that fear come up, but then also a message of just encouragement, of a message of encouragement in that I can do it. It's it's kind of scary sometimes. Like, okay, whoa, this is an individual journey. Like, I will only be the one to get myself where I want to go. It's very daunting. It's very daunting. But I think the more you can do things that feel like, okay, this is what I want to do with my time. This is how I want to allocate my time, and then like honor that the way you want to allocate your time. Honor that way. Honor the way you want to spend your time, and how you want to treat yourself. Honor that, because then you feel more equipped to just handle life by yourself. If you can just know you can, if you know you can take care of yourself and trust yourself, it's much easier to stay on the course of your individual journey, because you're constantly tuning into yourself. Okay, back to the priorities, back to placing, saying no to certain things, placing boundaries in that, in my no, honoring my no. All of this is a constant, like, okay, let me revert back to what's meaningful to me, what matters to me, and even that alone time. So my priority could also look like alone time. So that way, okay, if I can get my alone time, at least it's much easier to listen to my voice, to listen to what's most important to me. Like, how can everything is like, there's just so much of like, just so much noise on the outside, especially when you're working Monday through Friday. You already have so much people like, talking to your ear. You have so much that you have to allocate your time to different tasks, that in your spare time, it's like, you just want to do the off switch. You want to just retreat back to yourself. A lot of us find ourselves just like wanting to shut the world off again, because we have so much information coming at us at work that I've lately I'm like, you know what, just kind of want to take it easy now. I think I just I find that I need to simplify my own spare time and just keep it very simple. Like, it could look like just sitting at a cafe for hours and then like just, it doesn't have, I've realized lately that I need my time outside of work to be very simple, because I need to be able to take it slow again. Because if I'm like going out, it's fun. It can be fun. It can be like, I don't know. You can make it what it is. You can make it however. It could be fun. It's just that, you're just around a lot of people again. On Saturdays, you can be around a lot of people, and you were just around a lot of people Monday to Friday. So it's like, to be around people again, it's lately I'm just like, I don't need any of this. I think if I'm around a lot of people, if I choose to be around people, maybe it's going to be during a time I'm traveling, going somewhere, because then you're not working. So it's like, at least you don't have to worry about the double socializing, if that makes sense. Like, I don't need to double socialize. Work is enough to be like talking to people. That's how I feel lately. It's like, okay, I'd rather just spend time on my off days, on my spare time, just to create and plan. I don't need to do extra stuff, because I just find it unnecessary. It's not a priority to me anymore like it once was. It used to be a priority to like, yeah. And it just, my priorities have shifted in what I want to focus on. I want to prioritize community, event planning. Like, I just, maybe that's more important to me than just indulging in the nightlife scene. It's just, I'm recognizing like all of this extra noise is not important to me, and I'd rather just do what is. And like all the other extra noise that has its own time and place is not really important. It's not truly meaningful to me. And the more I can be clear with my priorities, the more I can live an intentional, meaningful life, which is all about what I want to talk about. My intention for everything I share is to live more intentionally, with more focus, more clarity as to the kind of life you want to live for yourself. We all just want a life that matters, and the more we can just say no to things that don't matter to us and say yes to the things that do matter to us, it's like then we can blossom and flourish and have the kind of garden we've been wanting to plant and been wanting to see grow. So I hope these reflections will help you shift maybe how you can operate out in your own life. And thank you guys for just sitting with me and giving me some of your time. Let's all continue to be brave enough to live the life that we know is there for us to like we're meant to. The dreams and imaginations and the dreams you have, and like the things the things you want to do this year, like and the coming years, and just your life is just, we can do it, and you can do it, and I can do it. And I want to be sitting on that throne of resilience, of bravery, of courage, over and over again, because I don't want to let this mountain hike, I want to reach the top. There's no really destination to reach, but to see what I know I can do. I want to prove that. I want to just, I know I can do it, and I know you can do it. So let's get ourselves there. Let's be brave enough to see it through. I think that's what it is. Brave enough to see it through. So I hope to do another check-in. I really want to honor my own schedule, honor my own time in a meaningful way. And I hope we can do the same, and I hope we can both, all of us can implement more clarity to ourselves. Thank you again.